A very good morning to you all. It's my absolute pleasure to warmly welcome each one of you to this free webinar on Artificial Intelligence Management System organized by CSET Private Limited. We are delighted to have such as a diverse audience join us online today. Before we begin, I would like to share a few housekeeping guidelines and announcements to ensure the smooth running of this webinar. Kindly keep your microphone muted throughout the session. If you have any questions, please type in the Zoom chat box. To maintain clarity and professionalism during the webinar, we kindly request that you update your name, include your name and the organization you represent. You may follow the example provided in the Zoom chat box. If you encounter any technical difficulties or require assistance during the session, please do not hesitate to contact us. Our contact details have been shared in the Zoom chat box. Your smooth participation is our priority, and we appreciate your cooperation in helping us create a seamless and engaging learning experience. Now, let's move to the next segment. I am pleased to share insight on the CSET certification process. CSET is a SLAP accredited leading certification body which provides internationally recognized accredited certification services. We operate in accordance with globally recognized standards and maintain professionalism, competence, and impartiality in our certification activities. Our accreditation include ISO IEC 20, ISO IEC 17021 for management system certification and ISO IEC 17065 for product certification. At CSET, we are committed to providing a certification experience that is professional, efficient, and effective. Our team focused on delivering high-quality service that both are timely and cost-effective. We work hard to ensure that certification journey is smooth and successful. When you choose CSET, you are not just selecting a certification body. You are partnering with the team that dedicate your success. Our accredited certification services help your organizations meet the highest industry standard and achieve your goals. At present, CSET offers a wide range of certification services, including system certification, product certification, and validation and verification services. Under system certification, we provide ISO IEC 27001 for Information Security Management System, ISO 22000 for Food Safety Management System, ISO 9001 for Quality Management System, ISO 14001 for Environmental Management System, ISO 45001 for Occupational Health and Safety Management System, ISO 50001 for Energy Management System. Apart from that, we provide certification services under Business Continuity Management System, Privacy Information Management System, and IT Service Management System. Under product certification, we will offer SL Organic, GMP for Cosmetic, and GMP. In addition, we also provide GAG validation and verification services. Apart from the certification services, we do training such as lead implementer training, internal auditor training, lead auditor training, customized training, and free webinars. Now, I would like to explain our certification process. After getting the inquiry from the client, we will send application for respective certification. After getting field application by the client, we will send quotation or proposal. After the approval, then we will go for the initial certification. Before we go on-site audit, first we have to do the off-site documentation review. It's called adequacy audit. After that, we will go for the stage 1 audit. It's on-site audit. The main purpose of the stage 1 audit is to ready the client before the stage 2 audit. So, in stage 1 audit, we will only give the audit findings. As per our procedure, we will give 2 months to correct those. Then we will be having stage 2 audit. It is the audit that will get the decision issue the certificate. In this stage 2, if there are any deviation compared to standard, we will give those findings with the categorization as major nonconformities, minor nonconformities, and observations. To correct those findings, we will be given again 2 months. Then we will be having the Independent Certification Committee meeting. The committee member will review all audit findings and they will be given decisions to issue the certificate. After that, we will issue the certificate. For system certification, certificate is valid 3 years, and for product certification, certificate is valid for 1 year. Within 3 years, we are doing annual surveillance audit to confirm whether the certification status can be continued up to next year. During the 3rd year, we will be doing the recertification audit, again to renew the certificate up to next 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to introduce a special early bird registration offer from CSERT. Be the first organization to register and free certification services under one of the following international recognized standards, such as Privacy Information Management System, IT Service Management System, and Business Continuity Management System. This is a limited time opportunity designed to help organizations achieve certification while benefiting from our exclusive offer. We encourage you to act quickly as this offer available only for the organizations to register under each scheme. For more information to register, please contact our team. Next, I would like to share some of our upcoming training programs. On 10th July, we offer a one-day internal audit training on GMP for cosmetic conducted by Ms. Harshi Godalage at the Renuka City Hotel. And on 20th to 29th July, we will conduct a combined lead auditor training for ISMS, PIMS, and BCMS led by Mr. Muktesh Murthy. We warmly invite all participants to join these valuable learning opportunities. For registration details and further information, please contact the CSERT team. Contact us today and take the first step towards certification. Thank you, and we hope to see you at our future events. Now, let's move to the main part of today's program. It's my honor to introduce our respectable resource person for today. He is a senior IT service management and information security consultant with over 33 years of professional experience, including nearly 30 years in the IT industry across diverse sectors. He is a certified lead auditor for ISO IEC 27001, ISO IEC 27701, and ISO 9001 for several other ISO standards. He currently works as a freelancer trainer and consultant supporting organizations in ITSM, information security, and service excellence. Please join me in warmly welcome Mr. Muktesh Murthy. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. You are able to hear me, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, all of you. Good morning to all of you, and thank you for the opportunity. This is a AIMS training, which is meant for around 2 hours. I will try to do justice to this standard because I generally take 2 days to give you an overview of what AIMS is all about. So I have been doing trainings for the last almost 20 plus years. I did my first ISO certification as early as 1999, so which is almost 27 years ago. So today I will try to give you an overview of what AIMS is. And from my basic experience that I have noticed, you should ideally have overview or at least an experience in information security or privacy before you try and go for the 42001 standard. ISO is an organization that delivers standards for you to implement. But since this is the first version of AI, unlike the ISMS, which has been on since 1995, and they had 6 versions of the ISMS, and there are 2 versions of privacy. One was in 2019. So AIMS is a new standard which has come out, but there is a lot of noise on what the standard is about. So my training today is going to be an overview of what the standard is offering and not too much on what AI is. However, I will try to do my justice to some extent by giving you some fundamentals about what AIMS is fundamentals are, give you some types of AI, components and principles of AI, and then we will go for the basic structure of the AIMS in terms of the clauses and the controls. So if someone is aware of what the ISO 27001 is, ISO 27001 has got clauses from 4 to 10. So does 9001, 14001, 45001, 22301, 20000-1. All these have got clauses from 4 to 10, which are auditable. ISMS, which is 27001, privacy, which is 27701, and 42001, AI are the only three standards which have got controls. So there are close to 38 controls that we have for AI. There are close to 70 controls for privacy and 93 controls for AI, for ISMS. So we will try and understand in the next couple of hours. So I'll try to keep it as concise as possible. My apologies if it's going to be a little fast because I have a time constraint. And if we need to get this, we have to undergo a proper training for 2 days only for AI and another 2 days for auditing. Now, having said that, we will try to understand what is AI, understand some of the use cases and levels of AI. So what is AI? As per the definition of from Wikipedia, AI is the intelligence of machines or software as opposed to the intelligence of other living beings, primarily humans. So there's a gentleman called John McCarthy in 1955 who has coined the word called artificial intelligence, and he called it as the intelligence of machines, where machines are used to mime or expected to copy humans, and against humans, this is what is called AI. And according to Wikipedia, it is a field of study of computer science that develops and studies intelligent machines. So all that you see today is all the fact that we are looking at machines which are expected to copy humans and expected to help in the smooth functioning of our operations. So how do we see AI? We have seen AI in the form of self-driving cars. When I was in California, and we have seen cars which are self-driving cars. You can just sit down and you can have someone drive you around. We have drones. We have a lot of drones which are being used for medical purposes or they're used for entertainment purposes. So you have drones which are also used for military purposes. You have medical devices which are now being used as part of AI. You have a lot of hospitals where medical devices are being used for operating purpose and also being used as medical system applications. It's also being used for writing. People are using ChatGPTs and using it for creating new reports or new images. It's also for creating news. And one of the most common activities or that is being done thanks to COVID is in the home automation. In US and other places, you have this robotic equipment called the Roomba, which is allowed to walk around your house and allowed to clean your house. So there are a lot of use cases which is there in a standard called the 24030, which is called the standard for use cases, and some of these examples are here. So you'll see the numbers are at the right are of the number of use cases in each of these areas. So you'll notice we have cases in areas of agriculture, digital marketing, education, energy, fintech, healthcare. I'm not going to read all of them, but you'll notice that there's a large number of cases in the healthcare area, almost 29 of them. And you have in IT, you have close to 10, you have manufacturing, which is for 22 cases. So there are over 130 test cases which are already available in the use case diagram. If someone is interested in knowing what these use cases are, you can have a look at them. Then coming down to the birth of AI, apparently, according to the modern era, we are calling the birth of AI as in 1950, where a gentleman called Alan Turing created the first word called computer machinery and intelligence. In 1952, there was a gentleman who created a game called checkers, and in 1955, John McCarthy created the first word called artificial intelligence. Now, there are a lot of activities that we can do, but some terms that you need to understand. You've all heard of these kind of terms. So data sciences, artificial intelligence, or machine learning, or deep learning are all having a base of data sciences. Data sciences, you have to have maths and statistics in the areas of whether you have to mean, median, mode, and what is the volume of data that I would like to collect. All that you have a certain amount of mathematics that is required with respect to data science. You also need to have domain knowledge. So whether I want to have knowledge with respect to manufacturing or with respect to pharma, with respect to oil and gas, hospitality, agriculture. So any of these areas that I need data science in, I will need to collect in these areas. And last but not the least, I also need to have programming skills on how to manage my data. We also call it big data in terms of what is the skill set that I need. So data is the backbone of all these areas. So you'll also see it a little later in the game when I talk about the controls. So data is required for your entire operations, and we also have terminologies like LLMs, your large language models. Deep learning is all about the fact that you have to talk about neural networks, or you're talking about your the human brain mapping. Machine learning is about the fact that you are going to talk about a lot of programming that you will need to do. So AI is a superset which will have parts of machine learning, deep learning, and it will have a bit of a concept with respect to data science. Now, having said that, we will now try to understand some of the concepts of Gen AI. So some of you may have heard of this term called Gen AI or generative AI. So Gen AI is the AI that is capable of generating text, images, and other data using generative models in response to prompts. Generative AI learns patterns and structure of their input training data and generate new data. For example, if I'm talking about chat GPTs, I talk about Google Maps, so you just write a prompt and it creates new data for you. Right? So generative AI is all about creating new text. So if I want to ask about where is the next restaurant, so I will just write put a prompt on chat GPT and ask him, and chat GPT will provide me the text, and it will include data generation, where I'm creating some new logs. It could include data transformation, where I'm transforming existing data samples to create new variation. I'm going from point A to point B. I want to go from, say, Colombo to the airport, and it will give you a chart. And somewhere in between, I want to move, or there is a diversion. Because of the diversion, suddenly your data gets lost, and the map will now recreate and calibrate and give you a new route. That is what is called new variation. So it will allow you to runtime change your data. Data enrichment is, so the first time I might get only 2 options to go to the airport. But after a few updations and a few upgradations, instead of 2, you might see 4 or 5, and you'll see multiple different variations of how you can get your same data set. So Gen AI as a concept is all about creating new data. For example, if you want to look at what is the flight path that you want to take a ticket from New York to Delhi. So you have an LLM, a large language model, which predicts and gives you your new data. So there's nothing that it does other than just pulling your data out and generating it for you. They're only trained on past data, and this may not be real-time data at a certain point in time. It all depends on how do you feed your large language model. Then you have a concept called agentic AI, which is more than a simple generation. It can reason, plan, and take actions automatically. For example, what it does is, suppose I want to book a ticket with respect to, I want to go from here, I get a situation where I want to talk about booking a ticket from here to US. So book me a flight for my 7-day trip to New Delhi in May. The weather should be sunny all days, budget below 1600 and no layovers. So what does my LLM do? It looks at my AccuWeather, it looks at my ticketing tool, and then it generates a ticket for me. So what it does is it goes and analyzes the goal, interprets the users, plans the strategy, and it also allows you to deduce what you're looking for. So what agentic AI does is that agentic AI is helping you in trying to understand and give you the entire operation from beginning. And then, I'm sorry, I'm going a little quick here, guys, because I have to rush to your other activities. So some of you may have heard of this. AI agents, as a suggestion, just give me a second. I think I've missed out a particular slide. Give me a second there. All right, my bad. Now we had completed the AI, generative AI, where we said anything which creates a new data for you. And then we are looking at AI agents. Now this is a middle layer where you are actually going to extract the data and get it from a particular place. AI agent is a singular activity where it actually goes and picks up data for you and gives it to you. In a Gen AI, you are just getting the value that has been fed to you, whereas an agent picks it up from a backend database. For example, if I want to know what is my cheapest ticket that I get, I go to a Make My Trip is a Indian travel agency, guys, for people who are not aware. So Make My Trip is a Indian travel agency site where you can actually go and pick up your data from, or you can go to booking.com, or you can go to EaseFare, or you can go to any of the traveling sites. And so what an AI agent does is it is a system which is designed to perform specific tasks automatically using the defined instructions. Conventional AI agents work with predefined instructions. So what does an AI agent do? It goes and picks up the data and gives it to with the conditions that you're working. And your agentic AI even allows you and makes decisions for you, which is not done by either the Gen AI or the agentic AI agent. In the other two cases, it is very, very rudimentary. It only gives you whatever you have fed, whereas an agentic AI also decides and gives you the data. See, what was the question with respect to agentic AI? Book a flight for me for 7 days trip. The weather should be sunny at all days. Budget below 1600 and no layovers. So it should look at your LLM, which looks at AccuWeather, talks about talks to AccuWeather, talks about MMT, and then it looks at a visa. Also, whether you have a visa to go through and then books a ticket. So it understands the goal, plans your weather, breaks your goals into smaller breaks, checks your visa validity, interacts with tools and APIs, adapts to context, and executes. The only difference between all these three is a primary function of a Gen AI is to generate new context, whereas AI agent is to perform certain predetermined tasks automatically, and an agentic AI is to plans, reasons, and acts independently towards a goal. Dependency of Gen AI is to on trained data. AI agent depends on the predefined rules and APIs, and agentic AI uses reasoning, planning, and feedback loop. The tool access, there's no real-time access to any tools. Gen AI only whatever ChatGPT or otherwise has it might give you, whereas AI agents have limited tools and agentic AI has dynamic access. Learning capabilities, not very updated. It learns from historical data, is not real time. Your Google Maps, if you notice, is not an updated activity. It keeps you need time for it to update. There's no continuous learning, whereas agentic AI continuously adapts to the context and works. Now with this, we then move down to the other concept called discriminative AI. You have heard of what is called Gen AI, you have heard of what is called agentic AI, you've heard of what is called AI agents. What is discriminative AI? Discriminative AI is also a concept where you are using all these three to check whether your data is correct as per your backend. Now, all of us have seen face recognition softwares. We have seen fingerprint kind of software. So what does it do? Based on the existing data, it matches and sees whether your data that you're providing today is applicable to you or not. For example, we are talking about fraud detection. We are talking about customer segmentations. There is an app in India called the Digi Yatra, which you can automatically go to the airport, get your face recognition based on the backend data that you have with the passport details. SIM tools, which is for your IT, where you are talking about tickets, you're talking about intruder detection, intruder protection systems. You're talking about face recognition. I have a face that I'm showing at the airport, whether I'm going to New York, whether I'm going to Dubai, I'm going to other places. I have a face recording that I have given at my backend. How does it recognize my face? Right? So anything that you are trying to validate with existing data is called discriminative AI, where you are creating something new is called GenAI. So there are some concepts, guys. When you come to a class which is a little longer, I'll give you more experience. But my job was to give you some overview on what discriminative AI, what AI agents and what agentic AI are all about. So that is something that we will cover as we move forward. And having said that, we now come down to what are some of the typical levels of AI. There are 3 levels of AI according to ISO. One is called artificial narrow intelligence, which is called ANI. So they also called weak AI. This is a type of AI that we encounter most often today. And chess playing program, all of us have played games before. So you play a lot of games on your hand. You talk about, say, your solitaire, or you talk about any of the automated activities that you may do. So what does it do? It is a program that can analyze the board and make strategic moves to win, but can't hold a conversation or anything more. So all the games that you do, it just plays the games and moves on. Like Candy Crush. There's nothing more that it can do. You cannot ask any question. Similarly, a recommendation system on shopping websites. Today, if there's an AI which is picking up your data and asking you to buy certain activities, maybe it is Amazon or it is any of the other recommendation sites. It doesn't check your budget. It doesn't check any of your activities, whether I'm on Facebook, whether I'm on WhatsApp, whether I'm on any of my YouTube. It just gives you stories which whether you like it or not. So an ANI is a very, very small kind of a scoping, which is excellent at performing tasks, but struggles with anything outside program. AGI is something that we are now, some of us are experimenting. It's a hypothetical level of AI which mimics human intelligence, which learns, adapts, and solves problems. So today, there are a lot of us which go down to ChatGPT and ask them to give me a diagnosis of what my health looks like. So I will write and say, oh, I've got a headache, or I've got a stomachache. What do you think it could be because of? So based on its own inputs, it will come and decide whether you have a stomachache or you have any of the others. So that is something that you will have to look at. So you need to make sure that an AGI is where you can also expect it to interact with you. And ANI there is no interaction. You just get a feedback and it comes back to you, asking, oh, where is the next? What's the weather looking like? You go and tell Alexa. Alexa tells you the weather, and that's it. Or you go and ask someone, what is the food that I want to eat? It'll tell you this is the menu. But when you wanted to make decisions, that is where AGI comes in. And according to ISO, there is also another level called the ASI, which is called the artificial super intelligence. There are a lot of movies in this area. There's a movie called Atlas, which had Jennifer Lopez, where this lady is in the science fiction era. It's somewhere in the 25th century. So she's interacting with a machine, and the machine and they talk to each other. Or there's a movie called Eagle Eye, which is almost 15 years ago, where the computer takes over the entire system. So where a computer overshadows humans, and in that era, it is supposed to be more intelligent than a human, it's called the ASI model. But to make you reassured today, as of today, there are only 2 levels that we have been programmed at the ANI and at the AGI level. Now, having said that, there are a lot of core elements of AI that we are expecting your programs to have, right, before I move forward. So your elements are that when you are building an AI system, because you're mimicking humans. Today, you have people who are taking Google lenses or Meta glasses and going to a campus taking photographs, right? Or you have people who are trying to take your data and try to copy it without your knowledge. Is it fair? Is it non-discriminative? So the AI systems that you're building, whether it's a chatbot, there are a lot of applications in India which were banned by the Indian government because these applications were capturing all your data and taking it back. Now there's a Microsoft product called, or the Amazon product called Eco. Now till 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Eco used to give you a permission whether you could keep your data and copy it back. But now Eco's new versions are not giving you that option, so they are hearing you and they're copying all the noise of all the voices that you are taking with you. Is it fair? Absolutely not. So you have to be very careful that the AI product or the systems that you're building should be designed and used in an ethical manner to ensure fair and unbiased output. Second, it should be transparent and it should be explainable. So today you have an AI system that is being generated and given to your built and given to your customers. How transparent are you in terms of the functionality? Do you tell them that all the functionality will be given? Are you going to take any data from them and share it with your customers or with your other parties? Are you going to test it for any other reason? So transparency is out of say 10 functions, I let them know about 7 functions. That is 70% of transparency. But in those 7 areas also, how detailed am I with respect to the functionality that I'm giving? That is the explainability part. So transparency is making sure that you are open with the features that you're giving. At the same time, how detailed are you with respect to what you're going to do with those features? What is the relevance with respect to the data that I'm capturing? Is it being used for internal purpose? Am I going to reuse it, and I'm going to check your data for any other activities? What is the element that I'm going to give is part of my transparency and explainability. So the data should be transparent, allowing for human oversight and understanding the decision-making process. Third is because we have got a system which is expected to mimic humans or supposed to replace humans, you have an accountability where the organizations are responsible for the development, deployment, and use of AI and the potential impact. So there has to be an accountability on the person who's going to create your AI. You also have to maintain privacy and security of the system. Today, your data that you're capturing, I go to other Meta classes and walk around the streets, walk around my campuses and take photographs of people. Is that really okay? Have you allowed me to take the data? And second, how safe is it? So there has to be a privacy element. You just cannot go to anyone's house. Today in India, and I'm sure in Sri Lanka too, if you see a drone around a defense establishment, they will shoot it down. Why? Because there is a privacy requirement there. A lot of airports, they don't allow you to take photographs. So you have to be very careful that the systems that you are building or the systems that you are trying to get from others, what is the element of security and privacy that you are building in your application has to be protected and safeguarded for individual rights. The AI also has to be human-centered. AI systems should be designed and used to complement human capability and not replace it. So today we see a lot of jobs every day in, day out. I'm sure you also would notice it. Every day you have companies who are coming and talking about jobs getting lost because of AI or automation. Even today I was reading a company in India which is letting go around 15,000 people. So whether it was Microsoft, whether it's IBM, whether it's Amazon, everyone is expected to remove people. And if they say that it is because of AI, then you have a problem. The AI systems should be designed and used to complement human capabilities and enhance decision making, not replace it. This last one on this slide is with respect to safety and reliability. Now, how safe and how reliable is your system? Today, when there was an action where last week I saw a notice of a note where a Tesla car, self-driving car, where the driver was sitting, he put it on a self-driving mode, and the Tesla car crashed into a house. And in that house, you had a 65-year-old lady who died. Now, just because you have put an auto mode, and at some point in time, that auto mode has decided to suddenly go rogue, and it has decided to act on its own. So how safe are you? How reliable is this standard? After some point in time, after maybe 50 hours or 80 hours or 100 hours, if it is supposed to reset itself, what do you do? I've known of applications where people have said that you have to put a patch on it every 150 hours. I don't put a patch, then it resets and it deletes all its backend data. We had another case where there was a company where the AI went and deleted around 10 years of the company's data. Is it really safe? Absolutely not. So you have to be very careful, guys, that the AI systems that you design should be used with a strong emphasis on ensuring the safety and reliability in a real-world application. The other set of elements that we are looking for is responsibility. So though you have an accountability, there are also responsibility to each and every owner or each and every user of the system, whether it is a developer, whether it's a user. Tomorrow you see that your AI is not being used in a manner proper to your systems, you are supposed to inform. The professionals who design, develop systems should recognize their positions in exerting influence. You have to promote human value. End of the day, the AI system should be beneficial to humans because you are talking about mimicking humans. So how does it benefit me? So a Roomba or a washing machine is supposed to clean me up. And Alexa is supposed to help me in preparing, planning my activities for the day. Similarly, a Google Lens may help me in accessing my data and giving it to me. But if at the same time, it is also collecting data of someone else and storing, then it is not a great activity to do. So you have to promote human beings. You also have to have a human control technology. End of the day, please understand, if you are going to mimic humans, you have to have a human who is supposed to help you in closing it or taking the final decision. Do not let AI take over your entire system, then you are in trouble. Today, if you're sitting in your car and you ask Tesla to drive, you don't know when and where it will stop. Tomorrow it might suddenly start going faster, it might get slower, it might not allow you to go out. You have a lot of cases like this which has happened, and you have to be really careful that your autonomy of humans should be of primary importance. When you are building your application, please respect autonomy of humans. Ensure that important decisions are with the humans. You also have to look at giving back to the society. Now we have drones in India which have given medicines at very high places, and you have certain cases where the cameras are being used to check for any. You're also using it for farming purpose. So there are a lot of IoT devices that we have got. We have a lot of robots that we are using. So am I using it for community development? Am I doing virtual doctors? Today we have a virtual doctor where you can take a system to a village and you can have doctors who can remotely sit and try to diagnose what you're doing. This is the second last important activity, guys. Even if you don't take all the others, we have certain laws of the land which is coming into being. So there is a law with respect to EU AI Act. So there is a system that EU has been, the European Union is one of the pioneers with respect to privacy. They came up with the GDPR, which is the Privacy Act for data privacy, which is general data privacy regulations. Similarly, for AI, EU has been the pioneer in that area for the EU AI Act, which came out in 2035. So this is a law which is coming to play. And similarly, even in India and a lot of other geographies, there's a law coming out that you have to be compliant to. So you have to be aware that there are certain places where AI may not be used or cannot be used. The last one is with respect to environmental sustainability. Now, some of you may be aware that the data centers, the AI data centers that are now being created across the globe has a huge amount of energy and water that it consumes. Just for let you know, guys, every day, average data center consumes close to 2 million liters of water. So 2 million liters of water per day. And we're not talking about regular water, we're talking about drinking water. So 2 million liters of water can feed close to around maybe 1 million people. Now, are you okay to have a machine where you can drink your water, or are you going to feed your 1 million people? The amount of electricity that an average data center consumes is close to around, they can house around 30,000 houses for almost a month. So a day's consumption of data center can house around 30,000 people. So you have to be very careful in what your AI can do. And just to give you an example, guys, if you go to your AI chat GPT and you write a term or you write a query, and in that query you write and say, you know what, I want to know what is the weather. One query can take up to around half a liter of water. So be very careful that it comes at a cost. So AI is a good activity for all of us, but at the same time, you have to understand that it comes with a baggage. And these baggages are something that you will need to implement as you move forward for any of the products. All right, so now that we have come and given you the basics of what the core components of AI is, there are a lot of standards that you may see. ISO 27001, for people who are aware, there are close to 97 sister concerns of AI. If I come and give you an opinion of what I'm talking about, let me just show you the 27,000 as per Wikipedia. So if you go through the Wikipedia for ISO 27000 for people who are of interest, you will note that there are close to around 97 family members in the 27,000 family. Right? So this starts from 27,000, 27,001, 2, 3, 4, etc. So there are around 97 family members in the ISO 27,000 space. Similarly, for the AI, if you are trying to go for AI, there are a lot of other allied standards that you may wish to see. And these are all different standards. So the basic standard that you may wish to procure at your end is called the 22989, which is the vocabulary. So if you want to know what are the terms and definitions of AI, you can go for the 22989, which is the basics, where a lot of data has been picked up from there. The ANI, AGI, ASI has all been taken from there. Similarly, if you want to understand what is an impact, and I'm going to come to this a little later. So for every AI product or services, you need to understand what is the impact it brings to the table. Because I take a Google Lens to the office, is there a impact to you? Absolutely. So is there an impact to the society at large? Maybe. If I take a self-driving car, is there an impact to all the taxi drivers? Yes, there is. So what are the different impacts that it does to the system? So you have a 27,005, which you can have a look at. How to handle risk management with respect to ISO. There are different ways to do it. There's a NIST AI risk management framework. You can use the 31,000, you can use SWOT analysis, you can use any of the mediums to do risk management. In case you are wanting to do risk based on AI using ISO, ISO has released a standard called the 23894. Similarly, 42006 is a standard that we are using as auditors. So tomorrow, if you want to get audited for AI, we as auditors will use this as a guidance document. What should we search for? What should be the caliber of the AI auditor? What should be the caliber of the auditee? What all are we looking for will come as part of your 42006. To understand trustworthiness, because we have got AI systems, how trustworthy is my system? When will it collapse? What is the amount of data that will capture? Whom does it build it to? If I want to understand the trustworthiness, I will go to the 24028. Use cases, I just showed you an example, the 130 plus use cases. You can see it in the 24030 standard. Talking about the best practices of privacy. So all those 130 cases, if I want to know how do I define security and privacy, I can go to the SAGI standard. You don't need to remember all these, guys. It's totally up to you. I will also be sharing this work a little later to the team, so you guys can take it and consume it at your own free will. Just have to understand the concept that AI doesn't work in isolation. There are a lot of supporting documents that you can look at. We also have a framework for AI where I'm using ML, machine learning. It is a 23053. Then to test, every application that you are building in AI will also need to be tested at some point in time. It is 29119. There's bias. We were talking about fairness. We were talking about ethics. So if you see that there's a bias in your AI system, it only picks up people of a particular geography or only people with a particular revenue stream or a particular set of gender that you're looking at. If you feel that there is a bias in your system, then you may want to look at your 24027. If you are planning to build your system, which is called the life cycle model, then you can use it 25338. It explains what is the life cycle for a AI system development. You want to talk about neural networks, you have a standard. You want to talk about ethics and society concerns. Today, how ethical is your product? If I want to go and use a Roomba, which is a vacuum cleaner, versus a application which is meant for taking cameras at your photographs and sending it out, which is more ethical than the other? That's a question that you need to ask. And what is the society issues that you may look at, can be looked at in the 24368. How to compute our AI is 24372. Big data is 24668. The last one is also very important, guys, is something that I always suggest that you should try to look for, is how to do governance of AI. What do I mean by governance is that I build an AI system. How do I ensure that it is in the right hands? How do I ensure it is not being used for something which is not acceptable by you? So this will be generally used by managers, it will be used by the legal team, it will be used by the leadership. So you have to understand that AI cannot be used any place and everywhere. There is a certain amount of privacy, certain amount of security, certain amount of ethics that you need to look at, and these have to be respected. So your implications of using AI. Now, because I'm using AI, is it really going to help me? Today, there are a lot of places where AI is not really allowed to be used. Today, you can't use and say, oh, I will, build a camera and a self-driving car and take it into a defense establishment. It doesn't work. I cannot come and say, I will use self-driving aircraft where I've got 300 people behind me. It doesn't work that way. Right? We are testing it with very small activities. We're testing the self-driving activities with respect to a car. Is the system matured for me to have a self-driving aircraft? May not be. Can I have a self-driving, defense mechanism where it automatically starts firing systems for me? Absolutely not. We have to be very careful in each of these systems, and there are many more, guys. As we keep moving forward, we'll have many more AI systems that will come into play. And your job is to see what is the best fit. When should we use what system is totally up to you in terms of the acceptability. But just for your own purpose, you should invest in the first one, which is the Bible of AI as per ISO, which is the 22989. If you want to understand risk, you can also procure this. And the last one is the 38507. So these are three standards that I will strongly recommend that you should be picking up for yourself. Now coming down to the AIMS, now that we have understood the basics of AI, now AI system that we are looking at has to have all these functions. So what are the first things that we are looking at? We're talking about AI is a standard that provides a framework for organizations to establish, implement, maintain, and continually improve their AI system. So this is a structure. So you have clauses similar to ISMS. So you have clauses similar to 27001, 22001, 22301, 27701, 9, 14, 45. So you have clauses from 1 to 10. So you have introduction, scope, normative reference, terms and definitions, context, leadership, planning, support, operations, performance, evaluation, improvement, etc. So you have clauses from 4 to 10, 1 to 10, and then you've got annexure. Annexure is where your controls come in, similar to 27001. So you have the 38 controls that is there in annexure A, and the implementation of these control or the explanation of these controls is in Annexure B. Just to give you an example, guys, here, if some of you are aware of the 27001, there is also a document called the 27002. The 27002 tells you how to implement these controls. So the 27001 that you have the 38 controls in 27001, sorry, 38 controls in 42001. How to implement them is Annexure B. Let me give you example of what I'm talking about, not example, but basically show you what I'm talking about with respect to the standard. So we have the 42001 standard in front of me. Let me just tell you what I'm talking about. So you have the 42001 standard, which you should procure from the market. So you notice that you have all the clauses and then with the controls here. So say, for example, I've got the control which talks about say A2.4. So the implementation, how to implement this will be in B2.4. So my implementation guidance of this is available in my Annexure B. So Annexure A is my control and Annexure B is the implementation of the. Annexure C talks about the potential organization objectives and resources, which I will cover a little later. Annexure D talks about the use of AI. So this is the structure. 0 talks about introduction, what is the standard all about. 1 talks about the scope of AI. 2 talks about the normative reference, where is it being picked up from. 3 talks about terms and definitions. 4 talks about what does the context of the organization do. 5 is leadership, 6 is planning, 7 support, 8 operations, 9 performance, and 10 is improvement. And like in any ISO standard, only clauses 4 to 10 are mandatory. 1, 2, and 3 are only meant for objective purpose. So you can also look at your standard, and if you really want to understand what does it do, so you can have a look, and it tells you what is the introduction about the standard and gives you certain information that you can digest with respect to your standard. It gives you an introduction of the standard. It gives you a certain overview in terms of the scope, in terms of your references. You can see the 42001 has been referenced from 22989 and your terms and definitions. So your 42001 is very similar to your 27001, and the framework is it has got clauses from 4 to 10, and it has got controls from A2 to A10. So you have got controls, which is in your ISMS, you got controls from A5, A6, A7, and A8. 4 control areas and 93 controls. Here you have 9 control areas and 38 controls, which we will cover quickly as we move forward. So like we mentioned earlier, the ISO 27001 does not, any of the standards expects you mandatorily requires you to start from clause 4 and nothing before that. Hence, the clause 1, 2, and 3 are only meant for academic purpose. So you start with clause 4, very similar to any of the other standards, where you are looking at the context. What does the company do? What is the reason why you are going for the standard? Any standard that you pick up, guys, it first asks you a basic minimum question of what is the purpose? Why do you want to go for the standard? Am I going because of my because of my competitor? Am I going because of my supplier's requirement? Am I going because of business demand? Is there a management requirement? What is the organization expected to do? And who are the interested parties, which is earlier called stakeholders, and what are the needs and expectations? So for clause 4, which is the context, you have to first understand what does the company do? What are the issues of the company in terms of what are the problem areas, why you are going for the standard? Do I have a competency issue? Do I have an issue with respect to my maturity of my customer, or with respect to the contracts that I have with my customer, or do I have a technology issue? What do you think are those issues because of which you are going for AI? And then what are the needs and expectations of my interested parties? So what does the customer want? What does my top management want? What does my regulatory body want? What does my employee want with respect to AI? So the needs and expectations needs to be identified. And if you see the star at the bottom, the standard ISO requirement is that you also need to identify whether climate change is one of the issues with respect to the standard. For example, in ISO 27001, now you have certain kind of areas where you are using solar power or you are using motion sensor cameras. So for AI, you just spoke about the fact that it uses a huge amount of water and huge amount of electricity. When you are going in for an AI system and you are also a producer for a product, are you going to also look at AI as an issue for you? It is an issue. Every time that you write a statement or you get a query, half a liter of water goes. So is that an issue today? Yes. Last week, I was in a small city in India where the entire airport is 100% solar power, 100%. This is a city in India called Kochi, which is also called Cochin. Now, it's the world's first 100% solar powered airport. What does it mean? It means that there is no fossil fuel that you're burning. There is no coal or there is no water that you use. Is it helping me with climate change? Absolutely. So there's a climate change requirement that you have to identify with respect to issues and with respect to needs and expectations. And then you determine the scope and then you determine your standard. So clause 4 is all about trying to understand your context. And the other important piece, which I was talking to you a little earlier, is what is the role in the entire AI system. You have to be very, very important. It's a very important activity, guys. As part of the standard, when you are implementing AI or you are auditing AI, what does your partner do or what does your application as a person who is trying to get themselves certified? Are you a provider? That means you're buying it from someone, you're just packaging it and selling it further. Are you a producer? Which means are you a developer? So all this explanation is in your 22989 document. So when you are producer means you are producing the entire AI application or the system on your own. That is called a producer, where you are producing the system from scratch and you are giving it to someone else. Where I'm building a chatbot or I'm building an estimation model or I'm building a reporting mechanism. What am I doing with respect to this? So am I a producer? Provider is when I'm building it and I'm adding a new piece of work to it. I'm using a Copilot or I'm using your Google Gemini. I'm using some activity from that and packaging it and sending it to you. Third is I'm a customer or I'm a user. I'm just an end user for this entire activity. I may be a partner. I might be partnering with you. I might be giving you one out of the 5 elements where the others are being done by other factories. I'm just a consolidator. Or I might be a data subject. A data subject is a person whose data is being collected. It's you. Your data is being collected. You are called a data subject. Or you're a relevant authority. So who are you in this entire scheme of events is very important for you to understand with respect to your context. So you have to be very, very, very careful, guys. When you are building your context, you have to know who are you. And this is important from the case of the standard. And this is something that when I go for my ISO 2742001 standard, I will ask you this piece as an auditor. What is your purpose? Whether climate change is an issue, whether you're developing or providing, and what role are you playing? So this is an important activity that you need to define before you are going for your certification. And for each product or each system, what is the role? For each of the products, am I a producer, am I a provider, am I a customer? So your system you have to identify your context in a very, very crisp and detailed manner so that there is no ambiguity, there is no question being asked. And you also have to determine the climate change, which is required in both the standards, in both the subclauses, 4.1 and 4.2. So notice here it says shall. And similarly here also it says shall. I'm not going to get into this details right now. You need to come into my detailed training. Then I'll explain this to you. But you need to understand that issues can happen both from 4.1 and 4.2, and climate change needs to be identified. So once you have identified a conflict, that is the issues, you have identified the interested parties, you have to determine the scope of AI. What do I mean by scope is that where all are you going to implement your AI? Is it only in my IT team, or is it going to be my software team? Is it going to be for my R&D team, which is research and development team? Is it going to be for my testing team? Who are the members where I'm going to implement my AIMS and I'm going to have my system? So 4.4 is all about developing your AIMS standard, which is called the context. And once I have done this, then I've got a leadership and commitment. So I have my leadership. The leadership has to be committed. There are a lot of commitments that I expect the leadership to have. And the leadership has to be committed to a lot of activities as we move forward. And let me just try to show this. So leadership has to be committed to creating a lot of policies, objectives, integration to the standard, ensuring resources are there, communicating, ensuring the management system is available. So the leadership is committed to a lot of activities that he or she has to be there. And you have to define who your leadership is. Is it only my top management, the CXO, or is it also going to be my architect, who is considered to be my leader? And he or she has to identify and has to commit. And then he has to generate a policy, which means that he has to have a policy statement. What does my company want me to do? What are my mission statements of my company? And third, he or she has to identify the roles and responsibilities and authorities for these core people. So who is my core team member for AI? Who is going to be, is it going to be the CAIO, which is the Chief AI Officer? Is it going to be my AI manager? Is it going to be my AI technical expert? Who are the core people that I need with respect to AI? Whether I'm looking at a risk management team, I'm going to look at development team, I'm going to look at a integrating team. So the leadership has to be looking at identifying the roles, responsibilities, and authorities for each of these people. So I have done my context, I've done my leadership. In my context, I'm understanding who am I. The leadership, I'm expecting the leadership to commit to certain activities. He has to have a policy, and then he has to have roles and responsibilities. Now, once we do this, the other core activities of my planning are I have to address risk and opportunity. So what is a risk? A risk is a potential impact that may happen. Risk is something that has not happened yet. What is the chances or the probability or a likelihood of something happening is called a risk. So how do I address my risk and opportunities in the system? So there are certain activities that I do. I do something called a risk assessment. I will do a risk treatment. And I also, there's a new element in this particular standard called a system impact assessment, which I will be doing as part of my journey. So I have to understand my risk assessments that I have working with. So what risks do I have in this particular engagement? By working out on my activities today, I'm taking a Google Lens, or I'm taking a Roomba, or I'm taking a ChatGPT, or I'm taking a reporting tool that I'm going to make. Because of the reporting tool, what are the risks that I face? I may face data model poisoning issues. I may have a data leakage issue. What do you think are some of the risks that I may have, or a model stealing issue? Someone might be stealing my data. What do you think are some of my risks, and how do I treat? Similar to ISMS, there has to be a treating mechanism. How do I treat my risk? And I'll have to also look at my impact assessment. This is where, ladies and gentlemen, there is an additional new clause which has been added in your in my AIMS with respect to impact assessment. Because I have got the AI product, what impact does it have to an individual, group of individuals, or society? For example, if I am talking about a driverless car that I'm building. Now, for my driverless car, what is the impact to an individual? It could be safety issue. It could be a security issue. And these are all that we are going to ask here. We're going to talk about safety, critical, or a privacy, or a safety critical system that I'm looking at. What is my safety issue if I'm trying to drive a car and if it crashes, what safety issue can I have? Or I'm trying to take a drone and the drone is taking some medicines and it crashes, what is the safety issue related to the product that I'm working with? What is the privacy if I'm trying to take a AI hospital management system? What is the privacy issue of my data getting corrupted to an individual, group of individuals or group? So there are templates for this, guys. And whenever in a free will, we can work that out, we can have a look. And you will see that you have to do an impact of this product on your system to an individual. So if I'm using a self-driving car, I may have a safety issue. If I'm to a set of people also, 4 people sitting, there could be a safety issue. But from a society point of view, I'm taking the likelihood or livelihood and reducing that many jobs. So all the drivers will come to a standstill and we might lose maybe 10,000 jobs because all the drivers might lose their jobs. So is there an issue to a society? Yes. Is there an issue to an individual? Yes. So you have to understand that an AI product, no product on earth, and no AI product on earth is perfect. There will always be issues with the activities. So what impact will it have? Maybe in terms of costing, in terms of accessibility, in terms of security, in terms of privacy. What impact does it have to a team? So I'm looking at your impact assessment, both from a risk assessment, from a risk treatment assessment, and from an impact assessment. What do I mean by risk assessment? What is my risk value? So I'm going to assess my risk, and the risk has to be assessed in terms of probability, in terms of impact. So what are the chances of it happening? And if it happens, how much will it hurt? So I'll check for my risk, and then I will treat my risk. So how do I treat my risk? There are 4 types of risk treatment. I will either accept my risk, or I will treat my risk, that is, I will mitigate it, or I will transfer my risk. You can also transfer your risk. It's not a core competency. I will outsource it to a third-party vendor like an ISP or an AWS vendor, or I might want to give it to a background verification vendor, or I'll give it to a supplier of my own. And once I do that, I also have to do my system impact. So what is my impact of this particular product or features that way if it goes out into the market? By adding a video feature, or today, if you go and see open Adobe or you open any application, automatically the AI feature comes into play. Just the other week, last week, I have disabled my privacy settings in all my browsers. So people like you, please go and look at your browser settings in each of your places. Privacy and security has been unchecked, which means they can take away all, they can hear you, they can take all your images and post. So today your Chromes and any of the browsers that you have, it can automatically take all your data from your Facebook, from your WhatsApp, and also from all the features. Have you given them the features to do it? So may not be. So please make sure that when you are looking at the risk assessment and the treatment, also look at your impact it brings to the table by releasing this product into the market, both from an individual, group of individuals, or society at large. And the output from this risk treatment goes to impact assessment, and output from system impact has to be taken into a risk assessment. So it is a chain activity. So if you see your system impact assessment, it's talking about handling it in your risk assessment. So the organization shall consider the results from impact in the risk assessment. And in your risk assessment also, he talks about doing an impact. So in both cases, impact of one goes to the output of one goes to the as an input to the other. So this is a constant requirement by the standard for you to play around with. So you have a system impact assessment which is supposed to be done on a regular basis. So what is my system impact? It's to assess the potential consequences to individuals, a group of individuals or both, and societies that can result from the development and provision or use of AI. The potential consequences of an individual intended use and forcible misuse. What is my misuse that I can see in this particular AI? If I am going to use my Google Lens for asking for my new movies, and if you see there are certain ads, there are hey, Meta, please in this song, please put this song from Spotify for me. Then it is being used for internet use. But if the same Meta is going to take the photographs of my people in front of me and store it for me, that is the misuse that I'm doing. So as an person who's going to be part of the system, you have to look at your intended use and force people to misuse it as a individual group of individual support. And then as part of my support operations, I'm going to look at resources. Resources are of 4 types according to AI. One is you need to have data. Data is of importance with respect to AI. Second, you need to have tools. AI is all about working with tools. Third, you need to have hardware. And fourth, you need to have human resources. So what is the optimal number of people for each of these will be questioned as part of 7.1. 7.2 advocates that you need to have competent people to drive the standard. So they have to be competent with the AI engineers. You need to have competent risk owners. You need to have competent auditors, implementers. So who are the core people and are they competent? Third, you need to generate awareness of AI with all the team members. People like you and me need to be aware that AI is working and AI needs to be properly managed. And it has to be communicated to both internal and external parties. We'll do it either by email, we'll do it by different exams. You need to workshops. So some companies might do an AI workshop. And then what is the kind of documents that we will need to prepare? What are my policies, process, procedure documents that I need to have? And it has to be available. So what does support mean? Along with the fact that you have built your context, you built your leadership, you built your planning, now you also need to have support. You need to have enough number of people, you need to have enough number of competent people, you need to have them aware, you need to have enough communication skills, and you need to have documents. So this is the support angle that we're looking at. And then the operations is where the actual activity happens. So now it is all about planning. So I planned what does my context look like. I planned what does my leadership want to do. I planned what is my risk going to look at. And now I'm operating. So the difference between 6.1 and 8.2 is in 6 you are planning and 8 you are actually putting. I'm sorry, I also forgot in between the 6.2 also talks about objectives. Objective is the measurements, criteria that you would like to put in any company. For example, what is my target going to look like? What is my SLA that I'm going to do? Do I want to have 90% of AI applications that are there? I don't want any data leakage. I don't want any model poisoning. I want to make sure that my AI is compatible and compliant to your EU AI Act. So what are those measurement criteria that I would like to call out in 6.2? And 6.3 talks about how and what to change the plan, how to change. And in step 8, we are looking at the planning part, which is where I'm going to look at all your day-to-day SOPs. When do I do risk assessment? When will I do access management? When will I do backup and restore? All the operational activities, if you see the name, it says operational planning and control. So day to day, when you wake up in the morning and you go to the office and then you say, okay, these are the 10 items I want to do. I want to do my assessment of my code. I want to go and do my backup activities. I need to go and do my training activities. I want to go and communicate certain activities to certain people. So all those tasks that you perform as part of your activities is going to be part of 8.1. So in 8.1, I'm going to do all my activities which I had planned. If you look at your 8.1, it talks about all the planning that you will do. You have to plan, implement, and control the processes. So 6, if you notice, 6 is all the process guys. You are looking at a process document. And 8 is the evidence of the document. That is the register. So in 6, I'm looking at if you look at your 6, it talks about having a process document. and the eighth is the evidence of these certificates. So my risk assessment process is 6. My risk register is my 8. So in 6, I'm preparing my register, my process documentation. On 8, I'm actually creating my register for risk assessment, my register for risk treatment, and my system impact assessment document. Then I moved on to 9. I'm going to talk about evaluation. I'm going to do self-evaluation. I'm going to talk about my internal audit and the management review. Self-evaluation, I'm going to, this 6.2 was my target and 9.1 is my actual. So in my 6, I would have said I need to do 92% training awareness. I need to make sure that my defect does not go beyond 2 or 3. 9 is my actual that I will deliver on. And then I will do an internal audit and then I will do an MR. Now with this, I will then do my continuous improvement. And then based on the internal audit, I will also do my non-performance. So this, ladies and gentlemen, was your entire clauses from 4 to 10, where I'm looking at clauses from context, and then I move to leadership, then I move to planning, and then I move to operations, 7 support, then operations, then performance evaluation. I do a self-evaluation, I do an independent evaluation, and then I have my management coming in, doing my activities for me. And then I work on my improvement areas with any non-conformities that I have. Now coming down to your annexure A and annexure B, I'm looking at my policies. So there are, I told you A2 to A10. So you have a total of 9 control areas. So you have policies, then you have internal audit, organization, you have resources, then you have access to input, you have life cycle model, you have data for AI systems. I'm going to come to all of them. So annexure B are your implementation guidance for each of them. So we are looking at all your policies. So A2 talks about the policies that we have. And this is where I'm talking about your annexure A. So now that I've got my acts in place, I need to have an AI policy. And the AI policy needs to have, and everything has an objective, right? Objectives are your dot one. You will notice here that each of these have got their own system. So your 8.1 is the objective, and then you have got 3 controls. You need to have a policy. And the policy has to be for the development of AI. And then you have an alignment with other policies. This is where you will try to align with privacy, with security, with quality. So if I have an AI, all of you will understand AI does not come on its own. There is no company that I have audited. I've been auditing for the last 20 years, but AI has come into play for the last 3 years, and I've done at least around 6 audits. There is no company on earth who has developed or is going only for an AI standard. They definitely have some relevance to security, some relevance to privacy. So what are those touch points that I need to work with respect to my alignment with other standards? The organization shall determine whether other policies can be affected by or apply to the objectives with respect to AI systems. So you need to work on the other standard with respect to security, privacy. Where is my access management working? Do I have backup and restore? Do I have cryptography? Do I have any physical controls? What are those controls that I may wish to look for is part of my 2.3. And then what are my roles that I need to work with? So the policies that I have working with has to be looking at all these activities that I work with. Sorry, I think there's a typo here. There's a problem here. Copy. I think there's a copy paste. There is a requirement for me to work with my apologies first. I think there is a typo that I have. It's going to be the review of the AI policy. So I have to review my policy as part of my 8.3. So this is a typo. Just give me a second. This is a typo issue. Review of the policy. All right. So in my policy, there are three things. I first need to create a policy. I need to have an alignment with other policies, and third, I have to have a review of the policy. So this should be reviewed at plan interval. So my first part is that I need to have a policy. Second, I need to make sure that I have an internal organization. This requires me to have all my roles and responsibilities of the team. And the big part out here is 3.3, guys. As part of my AI system, I need to develop or give a feature for me to report concerns. What do I mean by concerns? Today, if I see that there is a product which is not really working well, I am expected to I need to give a reporting mechanism which is like a whistleblowing. What do I mean by whistleblowing? I need to make sure someone should come and tell me this particular product is not ethically correct. It is not transparent. It has got a lot of bias. So you as an organization need to set up a reporting mechanism for them to report concerns. So the organization shall define and put in place a process to report concerns about the organization's role with respect to the AI system throughout its life cycle. If tomorrow you are one of the developers or you are one of the testers and you find that this data is going to go back and you're collecting his data for personal use, you have to inform the management. So this is a whistleblowing activity also there in certain companies. You should be in a position to report. So what is my 8.3? Only talking about an internal organization, which is meant to look at the different roles and responsibilities and looking at your concerns. A4 talks about the different resources that I need. So I need to have a list of all my resources. What are my data resources? Different types of data that I'm going to work with. And where am I getting it from? Am I getting data from my HR team? Am I getting it from external sources? What is my different types of databases that I'm getting? Am I getting data with respect to manufacturing? Am I getting data with respect to supplier? What are the quality of different data resources that I'm getting? Second, what are the different tools that I'm going to use? 4.4 is all about different tools. You might use some tool for optimization. You might use some tool for code review. So what are the different tools that I will use will be part of this specification, right? Then you have system and computing resources. What are my hardware and software resources that I might need? And what are my human resources that I need? So I need to have an inventory of the different resources that I need to bring to the table. This is what is 4 all about. If you see what is the objective, to ensure that the organization accounts for the resources, including AI system components and assets of the system in order to fully understand and address risk and impact. So 4.2 talks about the organization shall identify and document relevant resources. So I need to have data resources. I need to have tooling. I need to have hardware, software resources, and I have to have human resources, which includes competency. So as part of the resource identification, the organization shall document information about the human resources and their competencies. So now that I have done my policy, I've created my internal organization. I've also identified my resources. Now I have to look at the impact. So this is similar to your 6.1.4 and 8.4. To assess the AI system impact to individuals, a group of individuals or both, and societies affected by the AI system throughout its life cycle. So I need to have a process documentation, and then I need to have documentation with respect to individuals and society at large. So I would strongly suggest that you should try to pick up this standard, guys. There is a lot of explanation with respect to what some of these impacts could look like. So if I show you the 8.6.5, you can see the impact is with respect to fairness for an individual, with respect to accountability, with respect to transparency, security, privacy, safety, financial consequences, accessibility, and human rights. So what are those impacts that I can have to an individual or group of individuals? So do I have an impact with respect to fairness if I send this application out? If today I release this application only for people of a particular geography or a particular demography or of a particular race, and I say this is only meant for people who are Hispanics or who are from the age group of 35 and 55. Is that fair? Absolutely not. What is the accountability that I want to have? Is it Is the system accountable? Is the management accountable? Who is accountable if something happens? How transparent are you? What is the security and privacy issues? Is there any health issue? Today, if I give out the medical history of someone, am I really being safe about it? Am I giving any health issues to him? Then that can be an issue that can come. So you have to be very careful, guys. What is the impact assessment that you would like to bring to the table as part of your 5.4? So you need to have a process. Then you need to have a documentation of the impact assessment. Then you need to have assessing the impact on individuals or group of individuals. So the organization shall assess and document the potential impact of AI on individuals, group of individuals throughout the life cycle, and then to society at large. What are my society features that I might have an impact with? I might have environmental sustainability, which I was talking about. Today, if I've got greenhouse gases, today there's a lot of noise coming up, and I think even your CSERT is talking about 1604664. So there's a greenhouse gas standard that is also now coming up with play. We are talking about the impact to your water tables with respect to your voice, noise pollution, air pollution, and what does the environmental sustainability look like? What is the economic issues that I may have? If my jobs are going because of AI, I've got 10,000 jobs that are going. Or is there an issue with respect to legal requirements? Is there a health issue that I'm taking care of? Or is there something with respect to norms? Today, in a very, very restricted environment where people don't allow IT, so there are companies or there are different societies in US also. There's a society called the Amish, AMISH. They do not use any technology. They still use bullock carts. They still use horse carts. They still use they use candle lights. They don't do any electricity at all in many of this. Tomorrow, if you try to incorporate AI there, it will not work. So what do you think could be the impact that it has to you with respect to cultures, with respect to norms, is something that you need to take care of. So these are certain activities that you can have a look at, guys, with respect to the security, the system impact that it has to people. So once you have looked at the impact, then you look at just the life cycle from a software development point of view. So there are, it comes under two parts. First part is to ensure that the organization identifies the objectives and process for software development. So if I'm going to do software development, what are the objectives that I would like to set? I would like to set objectives related to, say, fairness or with respect to security or privacy. What objectives or measures or SLAs that I want to set up, and do I have a documentation for it? The process for responsible AI system design and development. Before I do my development, there are two sets of things that I need to do. I need to have my objectives and I need to have process. And then I will come to my actual life cycle, where I'm going to look at what is my AI with respect to requirements and specification. When I'm going to do my AI for requirements, how do I collect my requirements with respect to AI? A lot of times people, when you go to a site today, they collect all your cookies, they collect your name, address, all these aspects with you before you even enter the which URL are you from, which IP address are you collecting from. So how do I collect my requirements with respect to AI? So the organization shall specify and document requirements for the system material enhancements of existing system. So how do I collect my requirements during my, what is the activities when I do with respect to requirements? How do I collect my requirements for design and development with respect to AI? What is my methodology for design? Am I going to do agile model? Am I going to use waterfall model? What is my design and development activities that I will take care of? It will be part of 6.2.3. So I'm defining my requirements, and then I'm looking at documenting my design. How am I going to collect my design? Do I have a separate template? Am I going to use any metrics model? Am I going to use a tool? How am I going to work on my design and development? So the organization shall document the AI system design development based on objectives. Now that I've done my requirements and done my design, I have to test. How am I going to test? Am I going to test after every milestone? Am I going to test after every 10 days, 15 days? What is my mechanism to test? Will be part of my 6.2.4, and then how am I going to deploy? So people who are new to software development, guys, this goes through a life cycle model. You first have to collect requirements, like in any case. You have to ask questions, what does my system want? And then you have to design and develop it, and then you have to test it, and then you have to deploy it. How am I going to deploy? Is it going to be a one-time deployment? Is it going to be a lift and shift? Or am I going to do in parts? How do you deploy will be based on the technology that you are working with, which will be the deployment plan, and then you will operate. So this is the operation part, which is a runtime, where you are going to operate your AI system. So you're going to implement it and you're going to track all your operations. Am I going to, is my patching being done properly? Is my updates being done properly? Is my monitoring of my activities being done properly? All those questions will be asked as part of 6.2.6. So the organization shall define and document the necessary elements for the ongoing operations. At a minimum, they should include system performance monitoring, repairs, upgrades, and support. So even if I don't do the others, I'm not part of my development activities, I don't do this, the entire six will not be applicable to me. But you will still have to, even if you don't do, you're only a producer, sorry, you're only provider, or you're going to be a customer, all this may not be applicable to you. But these three will be definitely applicable, because even if you are a user, you still need to operate, monitor, you need to have a documentation, and you need to record logs. So as part of your journey, you need to operate and monitor on a regular basis. You need to monitor, is my performance well? Am I doing a good job? What is the documentation that I need to have for a technical writer or for an interested party or a user? And what logs do I need to keep? So am I going to keep a log for my server? I'm going to have a log for my network. What am I going to have log for my performance evaluation to ensure that I'm doing a great job? So the organization shall determine at which phases of the AI system lifecycle record keeping of logs to be enabled. So am I going to do my logs at a time of the requirement, design, development, or am I going to do only at a time of operation? So I need to, as part of my software development, I need to first make sure that I have my objectives and I have my processes in place. And then I have my system requirements, my design and development, and my verification, validation, and my deployment. After which I will be doing my operations monitoring, my technical documentation. What is the documentation that I need to give to my technical writers, to my users, partners, supervisory authorities? Each person may have a different documentation. For some person, I might give a user manual. For another person, I might give a support technical documentation. So what is the quantity or the quality of the documentation will be part of my 6.2.7, and what are the different logs that are required. Then we come down to the nerve and the backbone of all this, which refers to data. To ensure that the organization understands the role and impact of data in the AI systems. So what is my data that I could use for development and enhancement? If I am going to do software development, then this will come into play, otherwise this will not be applicable. So data for development and enhancement of AI systems, we should define, document, and implement the process requirements. So if I am going to be part of my enhancement, then data will be required here. Otherwise, how do I acquire my data? Even if you're an end user, how do I get my data from? Am I getting it from a third-party vendor? Am I getting it from my IT team? Am I getting it from a supplier? Who is going to get, where is my data going to come from? What is the quality of my data? Can I use my data on its own, or is it going to be comma separated files? Is it going to be in the form of spaces, or is it going to be in text format? What is the quality that I'm going to get my data? Sometimes data might just come in a hard copy format. How do I decide whether my data is correct or not? And then what is the origin of my data? Origin is where does it come from? Is it being sourced from my, is it coming from my system? Is it coming from the net? Or what is the source origin of my data? Is data provenance? And last is how do I prepare my data? Please understand, guys, whenever you are part of a software development activity, you need to understand that any data that you get cannot be used directly. It has to be synthesized, it has to be cleaned up before you can use it. So I may get data with around 200 records, but with certain commas or with certain kind of spaces. So I need to clean up my data. I will need to get data from 3 sources. I'll have to maybe add them, and then I have to delete the spaces, and then I will have to prepare it before I can use it. So what is my preparation before I can put and input my data? That is what is called preparation. So the organization shall define and document its criteria for selecting data preparation and the data preparation methods to be used. So as part of your engagement, guys, anything that you do with data, whether in form of development or where do you get the source from? How do you decide the quality of my data? Where is the origin and how to prepare my data? All these will have to be collected by you. After which we are looking at what do you do with an interested party? Who are interested parties? All the stakeholders who are directly or indirectly relevant for your standard. So to ensure that relevant interested parties have necessary information to understand and assess the risk and their impact. So what is the requirement or expectation from the interested parties? I have to give them documentation. I have to also have external reporting. So if you remember in the 3.3 that we did a little earlier, there is an activity to report concerns, but this is for internal team members. I am part of my internal team. I should know how to report concerns. Similarly, 8.3, if I am outside, I'm one of the end users. How do I report concerns? Is there an email? Is there a call desk? How do I report concerns or go to a website? This is for external reporting, guys. As an interested party, whether I'm a supplier, whether I'm a consumer, whether I'm a regulatory body, if there is an AI issue that I might want to report, how do I report? So the organization shall provide capabilities to interested parties to report adverse impact of the AI system. So as an interested party, you need to have they have to have documentation, they need to have a mechanism to report, and then you also need to give them a feature to communicate incidents. So say for example, today I have reported a issue with respect to a certain product in the company. Now I may be an individual who has reported as part of 8.3, but then you are all there, all your 70 people need to be informed about an incident. So your 8.4 is all about communication of incidents. So the organization shall determine and document a plan for communicating incidents to users. And last, how do I give the information? Is it going to be in an email form? Is it going to be in a phone, or is it going to be in a hard copy form? So it says the organization shall determine and document their obligations to reporting information to systems. I might have to inform my third party, like a regulatory body, if there is a data breach, or I might need to inform a regulatory body about performing certain criminal data. What is my requirement to scope all this and to inform all this will be part of 8.5. So what am I supposed to do with respect to interested parties? I first have to have documentation. I need to provide external reporting. I need to have communication of my incidents, and I need to provide information to them as and when required. Then coming down to the use of AI, similar to what we saw in your 6, if you guys remember, we looked at a responsible development of AI, responsible development and a process for responsible development. Now, during the development, what do you think are my KRAs and KPIs as required as part of 6.2? There is 9 talks about responsible use of AI. How do you ensure that I'm using it for what you have released it for? You have released my Meta for me to access data from Spotify, but I use your data and I copy your physical data and your photographs and I use it for my personal use. When you see your vehicles also, when you see a manual, it will say that please do not use it in wet sources. Do not put any add-ons to your vehicles. Your warranty will expire. Do not put a phone on your dashboard where it heats up with above 40 degrees. Do not pull it in water. It does not protect. It is not IPv6, or it is not water resistant. Waterproof, it is water resistant. So each of your products have a use and a forcible misuse concept that is today being used. Do not hold this cup longer than required. It might burn your skin if it falls on in your place. So your 9 talks about having a process for responsible development. How are you going to assume that the product is being used as per what you're looking for? What are the objectives? What are the queries or KPIs that you're going to check for objective use of AI? So is my product being used as per what is my system? Am I collecting my logs and saying, when you take a vehicle today to your service center, it goes and diagnoses a tool and then it will say, you know what, sir, I think we have used it around 15% of the time we have used it above the 100 kilometer speed, which means that you are using it higher than required. Or you have used it in a place where the heat is too high, or you used an oil which is not meant to be used. So you are monitoring the usage of your or possible misuse of your tool, which has to be identified and metrics should be given. Today, someone uses a tool and is found to be, I'm auditing a firm today. They have a system which allows them to attend or to put an attendance if they're within 50 meters of the office. What people do is they are walking around outside the office within 50 meters, registering and then walking back home. So they're not in the office at all. Is that a misuse? Absolutely. But what has the system done? System has said 50 meters, so they are all using the 50 meters into misuse the system. So you need to make sure that the system is being used for intended purpose, which is a 9.4. The organization shall ensure that the AI system is used according to the intended use of the system and its accompanying documentation. So it is your constant endeavor, guys, ladies and gentlemen, that you have to ensure that your systems are only being used for what it is meant for and not what is actually being done for. If you feel, based on your data, you feel that it is being used for something that it is not, please report. You have been given an avenue where you have to say that it is being used for something that it is not, so you should report it or we will report it to you. So what is my intended use? First, you need to have a process that is an SOP for responsible use. You might have a documentation, you might have a SOP, you might have a kind of a video, whatever you want to look at, or a manual. And second, what are the objectives that you would like to use for responsible use? Is my objective going to be fairness, or is it going to be accountability? What are those objectives that you'd like to set for responsible use of AI, for bias or any of the other areas? And is it being used for what it is meant for? The last leg is your third-party relationship. Now, because we are part of AI, and AI has got a lot of different suppliers that you might use at certain point in time. You might use some supplier for data, some supplier for software development, some supplier for tooling, some for your hardware, software people. You might use someone for data management, someone for cloud. So you might have different suppliers at your end. So as part of your journey, you have to ensure that the organization understands its responsibilities and remains accountable, and risks are appropriate apportioned when third parties are involved at any stage. So allocating resources, the organization shall ensure that their responsibilities within their AI life cycles are allocated between organization, partners, suppliers, customers, and third parties. So you need to have a ratio matrix where you say what does the company do, what does the each of the third parties do. One guy will provide the data, one guy might provide the tooling, one guy might provide the algorithm, one guy might provide the source code, one guy might provide the testing tools, one guy might provide the reporting mechanism. We don't know. So depending on what is your construct with your teams, you need to have a ratio matrix. And then you need to, in 10.3, you need to look at suppliers, where you establish a process to ensure the usage, services, products, materials provided by suppliers along with the approach for responsible development. So though I've given the ratio metrics here, I'm going to first check on what is my supplier doing as part of 10.3. So I will have a supplier evaluation of my as part of 10.3, where I'm going to have a process, and I'm going to ensure that this services that is rendering in terms of whether he's giving me data, he's giving me tools, or he's giving me the reports, what is he or she giving me has to be identified as 10.3. And the last one is, how are you going to take feedback from your customer? So now that I have got my activities in place, now you are giving it to a customer. How are you collecting feedback from your customer? Is it a survey, or is there a feedback form? Is there an in-person call? How do you decide this will be part of your 10.4? And that has to be defined and approved by you and your organization. So the organization shall ensure that a responsible approach to the development and use of AI considers their customers' expectation and needs. So this, ladies and gentlemen, was your entire A and B. So it was from A2 to A10, and you can look at your B and it's your B which you can pick up. So all the clauses that you had from 2 to 10, you have policies, you have internal organizations, you have resources, you have impact assessments, you have life cycle, you have data, you have information assets, information of interested parties, use of AI, and you have third-party customer relationships. So you have a total of 38 controls that we were looking at, starting with A2. A2 had a total of, so A2 had a total of 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 5, 10, 10 plus 4, 14, 14 and 2, 16, 16 and 7, 23, 23 and 5, 28, 28 and 4, 32, plus 3, 35, and 3, 38. So you had a total of 38 controls which are part of your AI system. And if you feel you need to add any systems from security, privacy, more than welcome to add it as part of your 2.3. And then we move on to your annexure C, which is your objectives. So if you feel that in your objectives you want to add anything extra, annexure C gives you a list of potential objectives and risk sources. If you go to your annexure C, there are some potential objectives and sources that you can look at. So these are your potential sources that you can work with. So you have sources, lists, and these are your potential sources that you can look at. It has to objectives and resources. So what are my different sources that I'm looking at? I'm looking at sources related to objectives. So is there an objective related to accountability? Who is accountable? Is it the IT team? Is it the customer? Is it the provider? Whom do you want to have as an objective? What is the expertise that I have? Do I have people who are, only at intermediate stage, or do you want experts? What is my quality of my test data? What is the environmental impact? Is there fairness? Is there maintainability? Is there privacy, robustness, safety, security, and transparency? What do you think would be my objective? Similarly, what could be my risk sources? So if I'm looking to look at risk, what is my complexity of the environment? Is my environment going to be very simple? Or is it complex if I've got a banking environment, or I've got a financial environment, or I've got a environment which is into aerospace? Or is there a transparency issue? If no one is informing me anything, it's all I don't have any transparency, or the automation is not very great, or resources related to machine learning, hardware, cycle, system cycle, technology readiness. So these are sources. You can use your own sources. You can use the SWOT analysis. You can use a PESTEL model. There are multiple different models, or you can use a 31,000. There are different ways in which your risk can be identified. So annexure A was your controls. Annexure B is the implementation of controls. Annexure C are your potential objectives and resources. And annexure D is just talking about the different domains where where AI is being used. Not very helpful, just something that you should know. It's just a one-pager, not even a one-pager. It just gives you a couple of lines of what are the different domains where AI is being used. It's being used in health, defense, transport, etc. And it's being integrated to 27001, which is ISMS, 27701 privacy, and 9001 for quality. And with this, I'm giving you back around 7 minutes for any questions that you may have. I'm sorry if it has been a rush job, but I tried to do my best to try and give you an overview of what your AIMS is all about, and hope this is something that you'll be in a position to understand what AI has to offer as part of the journey. I leave it open for any questions that you may have that I'm willing to pick up. Alicia ma'am, all yours.
Yes, sir. Now is your time. If you have any questions or want to clarify anything with the trainer, feel free to ask, turning on your microphones. I hope your questions and clarifications have been satisfactorily addressed.
Yes, ma'am, Jayalat, I'll give you the document, what I'm giving you presentation. I'll then share it after the call. I'll send it to all of you and you guys can take it from there. I'll send it to the team. So CSIR can send it to whoever is part of the journey. Jayalat, hope that helps.
As we draw close to the end of this pre-webinar on Artificial Intelligence Management System, I want to express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Muktesh Murthy for his insightful and comprehensive session. His profound knowledge and expertise provide valuable insights for our participants. Once again, thank you, sir, for your valuable contribution and commitment. And thank you, our respectable attendees, for your active participation and valuable contribution. To acknowledge your participants, we are delighted to announce the certificate will be awarded exclusively those participants who provide their valuable feedback by filling out the feedback form. The link to the form is provided in the Zoom chat box. Now we move on to another special moment. Today we are creating a virtual memory book. So let's capture this moment. Please turn on your cameras. We want to snap a screenshot of all the wonderful participants. Okay, thank you. I believe your smile face will making this experience even more memorable. Before to say goodbye to all, I would like to take a moment, remind every stay connect with us, our social media platform. You can follow, like, and comment on our post in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, as well as LinkedIn. We regularly share in the diverse range of posts, including technical insights, audit updates, and subject-related content. By staying connected, you all have opportunity to expand your knowledge and stay informed about the last industry trends. Thank you once again for being part of insightful session, and we hope to continue supporting your journey. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Madhusha.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you so much, Miss. Thank you.